In our politics lead, moments ago, a nearly 2-hour meeting wrapped up between House Speaker Mike Johnson and the Republican member who is threatening his job, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Congresswoman from Georgia, who just spoke to reporters about the meeting. Take a listen.
We just had a very long discussion with the Speaker. We're going to be meeting again tomorrow based on the discussion that we've had, and so we really don't have any news to report at this time.
But has your mind been changed at all? Has your mind been changed at all?
So we are going to be meeting again with Speaker Johnson in the morning based on our discussion, and then we'll have more information.
Did you speak with former President?
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene could force a motion to vacate as early as today, although she seems to suggest she won't. Speaker Johnson is likely to keep his job. House Democratic leaders have said that enough Democrats would vote to kill the effort. But this is amping up divisions among the Republican Party's narrow House majority. I think Johnson can only afford to lose one vote on any party line vote. With us now to discuss, Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida. He's well versed on kicking speakers to the curb. Last year, he forced the vote that led to the unprecedented remove of House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. So thank you so much for being here. I also want to talk to you about something you've been talking about on the Foreign Affairs Committee having to do with Niger. But before we get to that, you said you disagree with Congresswoman Greene's approach to this, and there's too much at stake legislatively to remove the Speaker during an election year. You did lead the charge against McCarthy, and no House Speaker had ever been removed from office before that. Do you have any concerns that maybe you've opened a Pandora's box? You've set a precedent that now can be abused?
First, let me say hallelujah to that reaction from Marjorie Taylor Greene. We won't be facing a motion to vacate today, it looks like. And I think Marjorie Taylor Greene has substantive concerns with how the House is being run that I would agree with. The same with Thomas Massie. I was very deliberate to ensure that I did not execute a motion to vacate during an election year. I think that puts the majority at some risk. I think that that's not good for our presidential nominee. So I wanted to make sure we cleaned out the barn in 2023, that we headed into 2024 as united as we possibly could be. No denying that Mike Johnson has let us down on a number of fronts. He ran on a campaign of single-subject spending bills. He used to be against this warrantless surveillance against Americans, and he was someone who had voted against funding for Ukraine. Regardless of how you view those things, for him to do a 180 on them has caught a number of us with a bit of whiplash. Mike Johnson's a great, impressionist. I wish he would do the impression of Mike Johnson from October when we elected him, because that was a lot more productive.
So one of the things that's interesting is that it seems like the criticisms about Johnson, there was something very personal about those who opposed McCarthy in the sense that people thought he was a liar and that he had misled them and he had made them promises and then not kept them. Johnson, I understand that there are policy disagreements, and he would argue, I'm sure, I have a 1 vote or 2 vote majority, and I can only do so much if Republicans are threatening me every bill. We have to govern. Do you see them differently at all, or are they the same?
Well, I think that the Kevin McCarthy concern about lying and about side deals and misrepresentations was considerably more acute than what we've dealt with Mike Johnson. With Mike Johnson, we don't understand why he went from opposing Ukraine to supporting Ukraine, why he went from being for a warrant for surveillance to being against a warrant. And certainly in that matter, he was the deciding vote. So those are substantive concerns. We're not worried that Mike Johnson is lying to us and working some secret side deal. We're worried that he's changing his views on things where we think he was right the first time.
But he might argue, and he can defend himself, but he might argue, look, all I did was allow a vote on Ukraine aid.
Well, no, he voted.
I know he voted for it too, but either way, his argument might be, look, you oppose it, get 218 votes against it, and you can defeat it.
But we had a majority opposed the Ukraine aid.
But that's not 218 votes, though. Right,
but the Hastert rule has been one that many members have advocated for, to not use the Democrats to roll on a matter of policy. Now, look, I will admit, on matters of procedure, we have aligned with Democrats to stop decisions from rolling to the floor that we thought were bad, and even removing McCarthy after he had lied to both Democrats and Republicans. With Mike Johnson, we want him to be the best version of himself. We just see a 2-hour meeting that's going to result in another meeting. Hopefully, this motion to vacate is a positive upward management tool that Marjorie Taylor Greene can use to get the most out of Mike.